Nostradamus predicted, in 2026, only 4 zodiac signs will become millionaires. An unstoppable breakthrough in fate will come suddenly, and Nostradamus left clear instructions about this. He spoke of a year when financial flows would change direction sharply, affecting only the chosen ones. In 2026, 4 zodiac signs will have the chance to reach a level that seems unattainable to ordinary people. Their path to millions will not be a coincidence, but the result of a unique energy shift that will open up access to resources, opportunities, and solutions that are carefully hidden from most people. Right now, it is important to know who fate will grant this power to, because whoever has the information has the advantage. I will reveal who will become a magnet for big money, who will receive the support of invisible forces, and who will surprise even themselves with the scale of changes that will enter their lives. Before we continue, write your zodiac sign in the comments. This will activate your participation in this energetic process. And be sure to subscribe to the channel to be the first to receive new prophetic explanations. Always remember, when a year of great opportunities arrives, the winner is the one who is ready to hear the warning and accept the gift that belongs to them. Aries, there will be no accidents in your finances in 2026. Everything will turn out as if someone had long ago written a breakthrough scenario for you, and now it is finally coming into effect. Nostradamus saw Aries among those who are capable of breaking through to millions, not through blind luck, but through a combination of drive, risk, and cold sobriety, which you so often lacked before. This year presents you with one main task: to stop running around chaotically and start acting like a strategist who clearly understands where he needs to get to in terms of money, how much he needs to earn each month, how much he wants to see in his accounts, and what his first million looks like. While others are still hesitating, you will already be in the process of making radical decisions related to work, business, investments, and the environment in which you operate. This is what will distinguish the chosen ones from those who only dream of wealth in 2026. Money in the life of an Aries will begin to obey not emotions, but to your specific decisions. The first sign of change will be a feeling of inner discomfort with the level of income that previously seemed normal. You will begin to view your time as an asset that cannot be exchanged for pennies, and this will force you to rethink everything: your work format, your way of earning money, even the city or country where you live. During this period, any form of menial, exhausting, low-paying employment will seem humiliating, and it is this feeling that will push you to look for other models, your own business, scaling up what you are already doing, going online, expanding your market, working with an audience that is truly solvent. Nostradamus called such people fire that cannot be locked in a cage, and 2026 is all about you stopping living in a cage labeled stable poverty. The main resource for Aries in 2026 is not luck, but the ability to make quick decisions and not delay action. You will be able to earn your first million not through a single lucky win, but through several parallel sources of income that will begin to form almost simultaneously. One direction will give you a jump in income, thanks to an increase in prices for your services or product. The second will be associated with a risky step, a change of field, starting a business, or moving into a new segment. And the third will be related to investments. These could be real estate, online projects, or financial market instruments. But the key is that you will stop keeping all your money in one basket. Your financial model will no longer look like a single salary that you spend down to zero. You will move to a format where part of your money works for you, earning interest, dividends, royalties, rather than just lying dead weight. An important point: 2026 will bring you to a level where your decisions about money will no longer be impulsive. You will learn to count not only the amounts you receive, but also the lost profits. You will begin to ask yourself specific questions. How much does an hour of work bring me? What can I delegate to free up time for more expensive tasks? What product or service can I scale to work not for one client, but for hundreds? It is this rich mindset that will be a turning point for you. When instead of, "I don't have enough," another question appears in your head. What do I need to do to increase my income to the desired amount? Nostradamus did not see in the future an Aries who meekly waits for someone to pay him more. He saw someone who creates his own value in monetary matters. In 2026, people will come into your life who will become catalysts for your financial growth. They may be partners, investors, mentors, key clients, customers of large projects. Their appearance will not be accidental. They need your energy, speed, and willingness to take responsibility. But at the same time, the year will bring to light weak ties that you will have to give up. You will see who really supports your growth and who feeds off your strength, your work, and your habit of pulling others along. During this period, Nostradamus closed the door on those who are not ready to keep up with your pace. You will feel yourself closing unnecessary channels of expenditure. People who constantly borrow and do not pay back. Partners who slow down decisions. Acquaintances who waste time without any benefit. One of the key themes of your 2026 will be encountering large sums of money, which will not scare you, but will discipline you when you start to earn more than in all previous years combined. You may be tempted to spend everything on status purchases, but the prophetic line for Aries is not about that. You will not rush to buy brands. You will build a safety cushion, create reserves, invest in what will bring the next wave of growth. $1 million for you is not just a number to boast about, but a reference point after which you will not want to return to your old level. That is why part of your large income in 2026 will go into structure. Opening accounts, registering a business, legally securing income, optimizing taxes. You will not just earn money, but also building a system that can work for years. Your willingness to work with numbers will play an important role. Nostradamus has repeatedly described people who cease to fear balance sheets, reports, and financial plans. And in 2026, Aries will move from the category of "I don't like to count" to the category of "I control every hryvnia, every euro, every dollar." For the first time, you can create a detailed plan of income and expenses, set specific financial goals for the month, quarter, and year, and calculate how much you need to earn every day to reach the desired level. This specificity will have an amazing effect. Instead of a vague desire to want more money, you will have a clear amount, tools, and deadlines. And this is exactly how the path to $1 million works for Aries in this year's energies. 2026 will require not only activity from you, but also the ability to stop where the risk without guarantees begins. Your fiery nature will push you to make sudden moves. Sell everything, bet everything on one thing, go into risky projects, succumb to the influence of people who promise quick money. But Nostradamus clearly drew a line between courage and recklessness. Your task is to invest only in what you understand, not to sign up for schemes that you cannot explain in simple words, to stop yourself when you feel that a decision is dictated not by logic, but by excitement. This year, your emotions about money will be put to the test, and it is your ability to say no to dubious offers that will save you a significant portion of your capital, which will then form the foundation of your $1 million. It is worth mentioning work, which is no longer just a place where you get paid by the hour. In 2026, you will either radically change the format of your activities, or take your current work to a new level of monetization. You can become an expert who sells not your time, but results. Build a personal brand that allows you to charge high fees, reach international clients, and create products that generate income regardless of whether you are working today or not. Nostradamus saw the future of people who know how to turn their knowledge, experience, and charisma into capital. And Aries belongs to those who are capable of doing this if they stop hiding their talents behind modesty or fear of criticism. Another important element of your path to $1 million is the ability to withstand the growth of responsibility. Big money always entails a larger scale of decisions, large contracts, working with teams, managing people, signing contracts, negotiations at a level where your mistake can be costly. 2026 will teach you not to run away from this responsibility, but to accept it as a natural stage. You will begin to think not only about yourself, but also about the people your business feeds, the customers who rely on your professionalism, the partners who trust you with their resources. And it is this inner maturity that will enable you to retain and multiply large sums of money rather than losing them through chaos and carelessness. You will feel your attitude towards yourself, money, and boundaries changing. You will stop justifying low fees and toxic forms of cooperation, and you will stop agreeing to the minimum just to avoid conflict. 2026 is a year when you allow yourself to take up more space in your professional and financial life, to talk about your terms, to demand prepayment, to defend your value. Nostradamus did not see among millionaires people who constantly apologize for their desire to earn well, and this year will gradually bring you into the category where high income is perceived as the norm, not as something extraordinary. Finally, the main point of the whole line. The moment when you first see an amount in your accounts that exceeds everything you previously thought possible. A figure that for many remains a dream, and for you will be the result of specific actions. Don't be surprised if at that moment you don't feel excitement or euphoria, but instead feel calm and have a clear inner knowledge that this is not a coincidence, but a pattern. You will understand that $1 million is not the peak, but a new working level that now needs to be maintained and multiplied. This is the state described by Nostradamus in those who belong to a narrow circle of people capable of retaining wealth. You will become one of those Aries about whom they say, he earned his money honestly, with his decisions, his character, his ability not to break down where others stopped. And it is this inner strength that will allow you not only to become a millionaire, but also to remain one in the future. Taurus. For Taurus, 2026 will be the year when money will cease to be just a topic of conversation and plans and will turn into clearly measurable capital. Nostradamus, in his prophecies, described those who will slowly but surely rise to the top of material well-being, and this sign will belong to this category. Taurus will not make any sudden moves, but each of its financial steps will be increasingly accurate, thoughtful, and large-scale. From the very first days of January, it will begin to look at its income and expenses as a system that needs to be put in order. During this period, the debt burden will be streamlined, small obligations will be closed, all subscriptions, regular payments, and unnecessary expenses will be reviewed. January will be the point at which Taurus will stop allowing money to be wasted on trifles, and this will create a solid foundation for large savings. In February, this sign will focus on the topic of stable income. Nostradamus emphasized that true wealth does not begin with a one-time gift of fate, but with a stream that does not dry up. During this period, Taurus will either agree to a more profitable position or bring their business out of chaotic orders and into a format of predictable cash flow. This could be a new contract, a long-term project, or a long-term client that will bring in a significant monthly income. And it is thanks to this that in the coming months, they will be able to confidently plan significant financial steps without fear of failure. February's decisions regarding work, cooperation, and payment terms will be decisive. They will create the first cash flow, which will then become one of the pillars of millionaire status. March will bring Taurus a clear understanding that savings without investment will not give the desired jump. Nostradamus described those who will learn to turn their savings into assets, and this sign will act precisely according to this logic. In March, they will begin to set aside not what is left over, but a specific percentage of each income, with part of the funds being directed into financial instruments that will allow them to multiply their capital. Taurus will begin to understand accounts, deposits, and various types of investment products, separating the reliable from the risky. They will not risk everything, but they will not leave significant amounts of money just lying around. It is precisely this thrifty but active attitude towards money that will have a strong effect over the course of the year. April will be a month of expanding opportunities for this sign. During this period, offers that previously seemed unattainable will appear. Nostradamus wrote about people who, seemingly unnoticed by those around them, would expand their presence in the world of business and resources, and Taurus will act in exactly this way, making decisions about additional sources of income. This could be a new line of business, a partnership project, participation in a joint venture, or the launch of an online format. During April, this sign will sign important agreements and discuss interest rates, terms, and conditions. They will not rush, but they will not delay either, choosing where there is real benefit rather than empty promises. It is in April that a second stream of money will emerge, which will ultimately take him to a much higher level in May. The financial theme will be closely linked to material assets. Nostradamus, in his quatrains, drew attention to those who will be able to consolidate their success through ownership of land, real estate, and property. Taurus will consider options for purchasing housing, investment real estate, commercial premises, or at least take the first steps in this direction. If the amount does not yet allow for a full purchase, he will carefully analyze the market, prepare documents, study lending conditions, and negotiate future deals. May will be the month when a clear picture will form in the mind of this sign: what exactly they want to buy, when, for how much, and what income this asset will bring. Such specifics will distinguish Taurus from those who simply dream of someday owning their own apartment. They will strive for exact figures and realistic deadlines. June will bring intense work with those around them. Nostradamus's prophecies contain images of people who know how to unite the right partners around them and weed out those who hinder growth. It is during this month that Taurus will establish new business connections, reach out to those who can provide them with better conditions and more lucrative contracts and greater scale, while gradually ceasing cooperation with those who constantly delay payments, underestimate the value of their work, and demand maximum effort for minimum money. June will be a point of reformatting their social and professional circle, thanks to which their financial flows will become cleaner, less energy and money leaks, more targeted inflow of large sums. July will open a new level of confidence in his own decisions. This month will be associated with analysing the results of the first half of the year. Taurus will calculate how much they have already earned and saved since the beginning of the year, which contracts have worked best, and which areas have proved to be unprofitable. Nostradamus emphasized that wealth will come to those who are not afraid to review their own strategy and admit their mistakes. Therefore, July will be a month of financial correction for Taurus. They will abandon ineffective formats, raise prices where their work is undervalued, and transfer part of their income to more profitable models. This sign will not regret what does not bring real benefits, but will focus on what gives the maximum financial result. August will link the topic of money with the topic of personal discipline. Taurus will understand that millionaire status will not come with a chaotic lifestyle. This month, they will begin to implement a clear routine, planning their day, work schedule, tracking productivity, structuring tasks. Nostradamus described how material success would be combined with inner organization, and August will be the month when this sign takes control not only of money, but also of time. Thanks to this, they will have more hours for highly profitable activities, for learning financial literacy, for negotiations and deals that bring significant sums. They will stop wasting days on aimless activities that do not move them towards a million. September in the life of a Taurus will be associated with the theme of learning, but not theoretical, but practical. This sign will learn from those who have already achieved high incomes. They may attend specialized courses, consultations, closed meetings, study the experience of successful entrepreneurs and specialists. Nostradamus mentioned those who will receive knowledge in time that can change their situation, and for Taurus, September will be just such a month. They will adopt specific models for scaling their business, structuring income, protecting capital, and optimizing taxation. This information will not remain at the theoretical level, but will be quickly applied, thanks to which, in the coming months, Taurus's financial system will begin to work more efficiently, protecting income from losses and opening up opportunities for even greater growth. October will bring a clear sense of transition to another financial category. During this period, it will be possible to sign the largest contracts of the year, receive large sums in advance, and successfully complete deals that have been in preparation for a long time. Nostradamus, in his prophecies, spoke of people who would suddenly reach a level where a single deal would equal their previous annual income, and Taurus will have every chance of being among them. In October, they will behave as calmly as possible, checking documents, recording agreements, thinking through the details in advance to avoid mistakes. It is in this month that the real figures in their accounts will begin to confirm what they have been working towards since the beginning of the year. Income will be measured not in hundreds, but in tens of thousands at a time, which will make a million an achievable and very concrete goal. November will focus Taurus's attention on preserving and multiplying their capital. When big money appears, the question will arise: how not to dissolve it in spontaneous desires. Nostradamus described how many people will lose their chance at wealth due to their inability to restrain impulsive spending. Taurus will act differently, distributing large sums among different baskets. Part will go to a reserve fund, part to investments, and part to business development. Only a certain percentage will be directed towards satisfying personal needs. But even here, this sign will remain pragmatic, choosing what emphasizes status and at the same time preserves value. November will be a month of financial consolidation, when figures in the millions will cease to seem like an unattainable dream and will become the logical result of a clear strategy. December will end the year with a sense of structured wealth. Taurus will see before them not a chaotic set of episodes, but a complete picture. Several stable streams of income, tangible assets, financial instruments, reserve funds, working models that have already proven their effectiveness. Nostradamus spoke of those who will enter the new era not empty-handed, but with capital that allows them to act freely. And this is exactly what the situation of this sign will look like. In December, they will plan the next stage, expanding to an even larger scale, strengthening asset protection, expanding business to other markets, creating passive sources of income that will work independently of their personal involvement. At this stage, a million for Taurus will not be the peak, but a working mark, after which a new cycle of growth will begin throughout the year. The key theme for this sign will be the ability to combine patience and determination. Nostradamus repeatedly drew attention to those who are able to remain calm but consistently build strength, and Taurus's strategy will fit this line. They will not look for easy schemes, will not chase dubious quick earnings, will not risk everything for a one-time win. But each month will bring them a strengthening of their position, growth in income, expansion of assets, and increased control over money. As a result, by the end of 2026, Taurus will be among those whom Nostradamus wrote about as people who will enter a new economic cycle with millionaire status, earned not by chance, but through discipline, consistency, practical intelligence, and the ability to build wealth step by step. Gemini. In 2026, Gemini will earn money through their quick thinking, flexibility, and ability to work with information, rather than through physical exhaustion. In his prophecies, Nostradamus described people who, thanks to their words, intellect, and connections, would rise above those who rely only on the strength of their hands. Gemini will belong to this category. Their minds will become their main capital, and their ability to communicate, negotiate, present, and sell ideas will begin to directly translate into large sums of money. During the year, this sign will not live from paycheck to paycheck. They will build a model where several sources of income will complement each other and give a cumulative financial result in the millions. At the beginning of the year, in January, Gemini will still feel the inertia of old approaches. Many contacts, many tasks, but no clear system. It is during this period that they will make an internal decision to stop spreading themselves too thin, to determine which areas of activity can actually lead to millionaire status and which are simply a waste of time. In January, they will begin to analyze their skills: communication, writing, selling, teaching, working with an audience, creating content, managing projects. Based on this analysis, they will determine 2 to 3 main vectors of work for the year. Everything superfluous that does not bring money or prospects will gradually be cut off. Thus, by the end of the first month, the core of the future financial model will be formed. In February, Gemini will move on to actively expanding their professional contacts. Nostradamus mentioned those who, through words and communication, will open up access to other people's resources. And this is exactly what will happen. In February, negotiations, business meetings, online dating, and participation in professional communities will come to the fore. This sign will begin to consciously form an environment of people who already think in big numbers, work with high budgets, and have experience in business, investment, media, IT, or other profitable areas. Gemini will not ask these people for money, but will instead offer them benefits, ideas, content, promotion, organization, analytics. This is how they will gain access to new markets and large projects, which will later yield significant financial results. March will be the month of the launch of the first large-scale initiatives related to the online space. During this period, Gemini will create or update personal brands, develop channels, blogs, and information projects, launch educational products, marketing services, and consulting. Nostradamus emphasized that for some people, the money of the future will be associated not with physical goods, but with ideas, knowledge, and their packaging. This is exactly what will happen in the life of this sign. In March, Gemini will form the first packages of services or products with a clear cost. They will not work for anything, but will instead determine specific rates, the structure of offers, and the format of work. And it is thanks to this that their income will begin to increase, without being tied to the number of hours spent on business. April will bring the first tangible financial leaps. At this time, Gemini will conclude deals that exceed the usual level. There may be large clients or partners who will order entire complexes of work rather than one-time services. Nostradamus described in his texts people who, thanks to their ability to speak and negotiate, will be able to manage processes rather than perform other people's tasks. In April, there will be a chance to move from the position of an executor to the position of a coordinator, producer, project owner. Gemini will take responsibility for the result, involve other specialists, form small teams, and the difference between the funds received and the costs of contractors will begin to create a clear financial reserve which will continue to grow. May, in the life of this sign, will be associated with financial restructuring. Income will become high enough to stop going to zero at the end of the month, and Gemini will begin to divide money into categories: operating expenses, personal life, education, reserves, investments. Nostradamus wrote about those who will learn in time to manage not only the inflow, but also the outflow of money. And May will be the moment when this sign will stop perceiving large sums as something that can be quickly spent on emotions. On the contrary, part of the funds will be purposefully invested in areas that will strengthen the position of Gemini. Technology, tools, platforms, advertising, access to professional services, all of which will work to further increase income. In June, international opportunities will come to the fore, and Gemini will begin to work more with other countries and take on projects where payment will be in foreign currency. The number of online customers from different parts of the world will increase. Nostradamus mentioned those who will be able to turn linguistic and mental flexibility into money, and it is Gemini who will use this ability to the maximum. They will be able to adapt their services and products to different markets, taking into account the specifics of audiences, cultural characteristics, and trends. In June, the first large payments in foreign currency will appear, which will immediately increase the sense of the real value of their own time and competencies. After that, returning to small, low-paying tasks will become simply impossible. July will be a month of peak workload, but also peak income growth. Gemini will find themselves in a situation where their calendar will be filled with meetings, deadlines, new product launches, and campaigns. Nostradamus spoke of periods when opportunities would overlap, and it would be important to be able to choose what is most important. This is the task that will face this sign. In July, they will be forced to strictly prioritize tasks, delegate technical and secondary processes, and focus on strategic steps, negotiations, key decisions, and major deals. At this time, income may increase several times overdue to correctly structured large-scale projects, but at the same time, it will become clear that without a system and a team, the next leap forward will be impossible. August will bring a rethinking of the working format. Gemini will already have enough experience to understand which activities give the maximum financial effect with minimum energy expenditure, and which take away strength and nerves without adequate reward. They will begin to consciously close areas that do not correspond to their new level of income. Nostradamus pointed out that the path to wealth will require not only new beginnings, but also the timely completion of outdated formats. In August, Gemini will abandon projects where they are underestimated, underpaid, and their expertise is ignored. Instead, they will only remain in collaborations where there is real money, the prospect of scaling up, and respect for their resources. September will be a month of technological advancement, and this sign will begin to seriously automate its work. Setting up sales funnels, using training platforms, planning and analytics services, project management systems, Nostradamus indicated in his prophecies that in the new era, money will go to those who know how to combine human intelligence with technical tools. Gemini will be among such people. Thanks to automation, they will free up time for the most valuable things, generating ideas, negotiating, and closing big deals. In September, simple tasks will begin to be performed without their participation, while income will remain high and even grow as the system will work almost continuously. October will be a month of great financial concentration in the lives of Gemini. Some of the previously scattered flows will begin to converge into several main channels that bring in significant amounts of money. This sign will see cumulative income in its accounts approaching levels it had previously only dreamed of. Nostradamus noted that it is during such periods that it is important not to lose your sobriety and not to become a hostage to your own emotions. In October, Gemini will make decisions regarding large savings, creating a reserve fund for several months in advance, distributing part of their capital into different currencies, planning large purchases, while not rushing into wasteful spending, understanding that the main leap is still ahead. November will bring them to a level where the concept of a million will cease to be abstract. The total income for the previous months, taking into account signed contracts, advances, completed projects, and active launches, will bring Gemini to the threshold that Nostradamus wrote about as the transition of the chosen ones to a new economic reality. In November, they will work not so much harder as more accurately. Every new deal, every contract, every product release will be aimed at maximum profit. Business decisions will become tougher and more profitable for them. The percentage of profit from each action will grow, and this is what will allow them to reach the amount that will ultimately form their millionaire status. December will consolidate the result, and at the same time give the feeling that this is only the beginning of a new level. This month, Gemini will see a clear picture in front of them. Several strong sources of income, a stable flow of customers, well-promoted information channels, working funnels, formed teams. Nostradamus mentioned people who will enter the new cycle not with fear, but with a sense of their own strength and capabilities. This is exactly how this sign will feel. A million will not be a fluke for them, but a direct result of the fact that in 2026 they learned to use their talents correctly. Words, quick reactions, the ability to see opportunities where others see only information noise. In December, Gemini will plan the coming years from the position of people who know how to take their projects to even greater heights throughout the year. The key feature of Gemini will be the ability to act through clarity of thought rather than chaos. They will translate ideas into products, words into contracts, contacts into money. Nostradamus warned in his prophecies that many will get lost in the flow of information, but some people will use it as a resource. In 2026, Gemini will be among those who will turn the information space into their own field for enrichment. Their natural ease of communication, adaptability, and curiosity will not dissolve into triviality, but will be directed into clearly defined vectors leading to large capital. This sign will not only raise its standard of living, but will also enter the circle of those who, in financial terms, can be called millionaires. And this will correspond to the line that Nostradamus spoke of as the path of people of intellect who will be ahead of their time and use its opportunities as effectively as possible. Cancer. In Nostradamus's ancient quatrains, the silhouette of a water sign will be visible, which will go from anxious economy to complete financial confidence, and in 2026 this sign will be Cancer. For Cancer, money will no longer be associated with scarcity, fear of loss, and the need to constantly tighten their belt. This year will reshape his entire financial reality, so that by the end of the period, Cancer will no longer be living from paycheck to paycheck, but will be among those for whom $1 million is not a dream, but a fact of life. He will move toward this result consistently through a series of precise decisions each month of the year. January for Cancer will not be about a sharp start, but about financial awakening. At this time, they will look at their income and expenses without embellishment. All previously invisible holes in the budget will be revealed very clearly. Pointless payments, money-eating habits, credit card debt, small debts to friends. In January, Cancer will make sober decisions. They will close some of their obligations, restructure some, and cut off some without regret. It will be a month of financial cleaning when they will honestly admit that some schemes will no longer work and new sources of income will be needed. Nostradamus will point out in his notes those who will put their finances in order at the beginning of this important year, and Cancer will belong to this group. February will be the month when Cancer will engage in strategic thinking. They will no longer be content with their main income coming from just one job or one project. During this period, they will think about how to turn what they do best into money, the ability to support, listen, organize, sell, create an atmosphere, and build trust. Cancer will plan additional sources of income and compile a list of potential niches, personal services, joint ventures with reliable people, online formats, consulting, and creative activities. All of this will not yet bring in a lot of money in February, but right now he will lay the foundation for future income, which Nostradamus wrote about as a reward for inner maturity and thoughtfulness. March will be associated with active movement. Cancer will not postpone the implementation of plans. He will begin to talk about his ideas aloud, offer services, write first, arrange meetings, test small projects. This month, he will come out of the shadows where he has been hiding for a long time. Nostradamus mentioned people who, overcoming their fear of judgment, will come out into the world with what they know how to do and get paid for it. Cancer will be among those who take this step. In March, the first additional income will appear. It will not be huge, but it will show the main thing. The market will be ready to pay them more than they received before, and at the same time will not require them to betray themselves. April will be a period for this sign when family, close friends, and money will finally cease to conflict. Cancer will learn to set boundaries. They will no longer allow relatives and acquaintances to pressure them with guilt, demand constant financial support, or use their resources as something self-evident. In April, they will establish new rules. Who can count on his help and under what conditions? How much he can give so that it does not destroy his own budget. Nostradamus noted that the path to wealth for people with a strong emotional nature will be through the ability to say no, where before there was an automatic yes. And Cancer will do just that in April, freeing up large sums of money that will no longer go to the bottomless needs of others. In May, Cancer will focus on the professional level, and this month will be a time when they will raise their market value if they work as an employee. They will prepare for negotiations on a raise or a change of position. If they have their own business, they will review prices, formats of cooperation, and service packages. In May, Cancer will stop underestimating themselves. They will clearly see how much effort they put in, what results it brings, and how it should be paid for. Nostradamus pointed out that in the future, some people will make big money not through the lottery, but through an honest increase in their own value. And in May, Cancer will take this step, thanks to which their basic income will grow, creating a platform for a further millionaire start. June will open up the topic of scaling for Cancer. They will no longer think in terms of one person, one client, or one service, one payment. During this period, They will think about how to make the same action generate income multiple times. Cancer will look into online courses, subscription products, long-term contracts, and services that are paid for on a monthly basis. Nostradamus hinted in his quatrains that the money of the new era will belong to those who create systems, not just individual transactions. In June, Cancer will build the first elements of such a system. They will structure their experience and package their knowledge and skills into products that can be sold many times over. This month will be a turning point in understanding that 1 million is the result of scaling, not endless overtime hours. July will bring very concrete financial confirmation of the correctness of the chosen course. At this time, Cancer will receive significant payments for projects already launched earlier, with the possibility of large advances, prepayments, and bonuses for successful results. In July, they will see amounts in their accounts that they have never seen before. Nostradamus wrote about periods when money will come in waves, and it will be important not to be afraid of their scale. For Cancer, July will be just such a wave. They will learn not to spend everything that comes in at once, but to distribute it. Invest some, save some, and direct some towards further development. It is in this month that they will feel that they are no longer living in a state of constant anxiety about tomorrow, and this calm feeling will become the new norm. August in the life of Cancer will be a period of deep inner work on attitudes towards money. This sign will realize how many years it has lived under the pressure of ideas that wealth is dangerous, shameful, and threatens the loss of loved ones or the trust of those around them. In August, they will change these internal programs to others. Money will be perceived as a tool that provides security for the family, an opportunity to help those who really need it, a chance to create something meaningful. Nostradamus emphasized that some people will only become wealthy when they stop identifying wealth with danger. Cancer will undergo this transformation in August, and after that, 1 million will no longer seem like something forbidden, but will become a logical stage of development. September will continue the growth trend, but now the emphasis will be on competent management of cash flows. Cancer will learn to use banks, investment instruments, various accounts, and financial services to their maximum advantage. They will compare conditions, look at interest rates, service costs, and tax nuances. Nostradamus, speaking about the financially successful people of the future, noted that they would understand the mechanics of money no worse than market professionals. In September, Cancer will take its first steps in this direction, moving from the chaotic use of cards and cash to a system in which every hryvnia, every euro, every dollar will have its place and purpose, which will minimize losses and increase net profit. October. In the life of this sign will be a month of important decisions regarding material assets. The funds accumulated up to this point will allow you to think about purchasing serious things: real estate, land, business, expensive equipment that will bring in money. Cancer will carefully choose what to invest in. They will not chase after flashy things that quickly lose their value, but will instead look for things that will remain relevant for years to come. Nostradamus left behind an image of people who will shift their thoughts about wealth from the realm of pretty pictures to the realm of real assets. And October will be the stage when Cancer will take its first big steps in this direction, feeling its status move to a qualitatively different level. November will reinforce the theme of large sums of money. This month, Cancer will see the cumulative effect of the whole year. By this point, it will already have several channels of income. Some of the money will be invested, and some will be free to maneuver. November may see the largest inflows of the year, the completion of deals, payments for long-term projects, and returns on investments. Nostradamus will talk about the moment when a person suddenly realizes that in 1 year they have covered a distance that others spend decades to cover. And Cancer will feel something similar in November. The financial anxiety that has lived inside for years will recede, replaced by the confidence that he is capable of maintaining and multiplying what he already has, rather than just staying afloat. December will end not only the calendar cycle for Cancer, but also the old financial era of his life. By the end of the year, they will have the full picture: a stable primary income, additional sources, material assets, instruments that work for them, a clear money management system. Nostradamus described in his quatrains how some people will enter the new era not just as employees or small business owners, but as full-fledged capital owners. And Cancer will belong to this group by December 2026. His total income and savings will propel him into the millionaire zone, and this will not be a one-time peak, but a launching pad for further growth. Throughout 2026, the main theme for Cancer will be the combination of financial strength and emotional maturity. He will learn to accept money without guilt, defend his interests without aggression, invest in himself and his loved ones without fear of losing everything tomorrow. Nostradamus saw among future millionaires people who would not separate the material from the human, and Cancer will perfectly fit this image. They will earn money not at the expense of others' misfortune, but thanks to their own consistency, work ethic, and ability to take care of themselves and others in healthy proportions. This sign will not boast about numbers, but the results of their year will speak for themselves. From a world where every penny was counted with anxiety, it will transition to a reality where $1 million will be the natural response of the universe to its inner readiness for great abundance. Leo. For Leo in 2026, money will not just be a means of survival, but an instrument of power, influence, and personal triumph. In the old manuscripts of Nostradamus, there will be mention of a fiery figure rising above the crowd, holding not a sword, but symbols of wealth. And it is the energy of this sign that will fall under this description. Leo will not agree to the role of someone who gets the leftovers. He will take the position of a person who sets the rules of the game and dictates how much and what he will receive. For Leo, 2026 will be a year of transition from the category of talented but underappreciated to the category of a brilliant leader who will control large turnovers and operate with seven-figure sums. At the beginning of the year, Leo will not rush into anything, but the internal decision about a new level of money will already be maturing. In January, he will sit over the numbers, contracts, and proposals, and suddenly realize that for years he has been selling his talent for less than it is actually worth. It is this month that he will set an internal bar: how much one project should bring in, how much an hour of his participation should cost, what the minimum check should be, below which he will no longer work. Leo will awaken the ambition not just to earn well, but to play in the big leagues. Nostradamus wrote about those who will finally raise their heads and stop bowing to low rates, and in January 2026, Leo will do just that, without any loud statements, but with a very clear internal shift. February will not be quiet for this sign. They will begin to test their new behavior in practice. During negotiations, correspondence, and phone calls, Leo will confidently voice new conditions, and instead of the usual fear of "I will be rejected," he will have a different feeling. If not this client, another will come, but my level will not change. In February, they will reject offers that try to limit them to small budgets and accept those that offer the prospect of scaling, a percentage of turnover, or a share in the profits. Nostradamus mentioned in his writings people who, thanks to their boldness in financial demands, will gain access to wealth. And it is in February that Leo will bring his external behavior in line with his internal ambitions. The first significant sums will start coming in as soon as he stops bargaining with himself. March will be a month of the spotlight for this sign. Leo will enter the public space stronger than ever. This could be the development of their own brand, new projects on social media, personal appearances, presentations, the launch of major products or services where their name will be the main attraction. Money during this period will be closely linked to attention. The greater the reach, the higher the amounts will be. Leo will understand that every appearance, every audience engagement, every piece of content is not just an image, but concrete monetization in the coming months. Nostradamus wrote about sunny people who will become a magnet for resources when they allow themselves to shine to their full potential. March 2026 will work exactly like this for this sign. The bolder they are in showing themselves, the greater their fees, orders, and partnership offers will be. In April, Leo will work not only for themselves, but also through others. The increased workload will force them to form a mini-team: assistants, partners, contractors, and technical specialists. They will no longer try to control everything themselves. Instead, they will focus on what brings the maximum financial result: strategy, creativity, negotiations, decisions. April will be the month when Leo's ability to be a leader will manifest itself. They will form a structure. Who is responsible for what budgets, what percentages, what deadlines. Nostradamus described how some people will move from the level of ordinary craftsmen to the level of managers, and Leo will demonstrate this transition. The better he is at delegating, the more money will pass through his hands. May will be a vantage point for Leo. During this period, he will already have several parallel areas on his hands: his main business or work project, additional activities, partnership agreements, and public products. In May, he will analyze which area provides the highest margin, where too much effort is being expended for relatively little return, which projects should be closed, and which should be scaled up. Leo will count not only turnover, but also net profit. Nostradamus pointed out that in the future, there will be many who will impress with their turnover figures, but few who will actually generate capital. In May, Leo will start behaving like someone who plays the long game rather than the short game. They will choose formats where they can build a million, not through random gains, but through stable growth. The coming summer months will be associated with maximum dynamics for this sign. In June, Leo will actively enter new markets: geographical, professional, and linguistic. They will sign contracts with clients from other cities and countries, team up with partners who have access to audiences they have long been eyeing. Their name will begin to appear where it was not before: in large projects, expensive events, and serious negotiations. Nostradamus spoke in his prophecies about a time when borders would cease to be an obstacle to money, and Leo will experience this literally in June 2026. He will receive payments from different currency zones, work on several platforms at once, and each such expansion will raise his overall income level. July will be like a financial marathon. There will be so many orders, requests, and offers that Leo will be forced to choose rather than grab everything. During this period, he will refuse even good money if it does not fit into his strategic picture. They will choose the most profitable, promising, and ambitious formats. The amounts that will pass through them in July will be significantly different from what they are used to in previous years. Nostradamus wrote about people who would feel as if the months were condensed with events, and Leo will be in just such a situation in July. One successful launch, then a second, a third, and each of them will bring its own layer of income. The main task will be not to lose control. To do this, they will need a strict schedule, scheduled rest, and a healthy distance from what is happening. August will give this sign a moment of refined awareness of its own importance. Leo will look at its financial indicators and understand that what once seemed like the limit of its dreams is now becoming the norm. In August, they will take important steps to legalize and protect their income, registering a business, consulting with financiers and lawyers, and reviewing their tax model. Nostradamus mentioned that among those who will actually retain large sums of money will be not only the bold, but also the far-sighted. Leo will move from a somehow it will work out model to a everything must be formalized, transparent, and profitable model. These decisions will not have an immediate effect, but they will distinguish the emotionally rich Leo from the systematic millionaire who understands how the state, banks, and laws work. The autumn period will be even more powerful for this sign than the summer. But the content will change. In September, Leo will think more about quality than quantity. They will already have enough cases, projects, and contacts to move to an even higher price category. They will form premium products, closed services, and exclusive formats of cooperation. When it comes to business, these will be expensive packages, individual support, and participation in projects with very large budgets. When it comes to career, September will bring entry into management levels, where Leo's decisions will affect large financial flows. According to Nostradamus's prophetic images, it is precisely such people who will hold the levers of the new economic system in their hands. In September 2026, Leo will feel that he is becoming not just famous, but influential. October will be a month of big deals for this sign. Events are possible that will radically change the size of their capital. The sale of a stake in a business, entering into serious partnerships, buying or selling high-value assets, a contract for large sums that will be closed in one or more payments. The cumulative figures for October may exceed the annual income of previous years. Leo will feel how reality responds to their previous efforts. Nostradamus mentioned that for some people, there will come a moment of harvest, when everything they have started will suddenly begin to return in a concentrated form. October will look exactly like this for Leo. Not a small return spread out over time, but several large, powerful cash inflows. November will prompt this sign to rethink the concept of wealth. When significant sums appear in their accounts, the question of what to do with them will arise. Leos will make investment decisions. Part of their capital will go into instruments with moderate risk and stable returns, part into projects with potentially high growth, and part into the development of their own empire. New directions, teams, infrastructure. Nostradamus emphasized that in the new era, it will not be those who only earn money who remain rich, but those who know how to manage what they have already earned. November 2026 will teach Leo to remain calm in the face of large numbers. Instead of rushing to spend money on everything that catches his eye, he will build a plan. What will work in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years? The last month of the year, December, will make visible to this sign what it has been working towards throughout the entire period. Leo will compile its own internal statistics. How much has been earned? How much has been invested? What assets have appeared? How many people work with it? What markets have already been opened? The combination of these indicators will bring it to millionaire status. They will not only have money in their accounts, but also a structure that will allow them to maintain and increase this amount. When Nostradamus described people of fire who would receive the crown of prosperity, he did not mean those who would win once, but those who would create their own system of prosperity. In December 2026, Leo will be just that: self-sufficient, influential, and financially significant. The whole story of the year will be connected by one thread. Leo will not wait for something to be given to him. He will demand what is due to him, set high standards himself, and choose with whom to work and for what amount. Outward expression, courage, a willingness to take responsibility for big decisions, a love of ambitious goals, and a lack of fear of other people's opinions. All this will transform this sign in 2026 into a person who can be called a millionaire. And this will fit perfectly with the image that Nostradamus left many years ago for the fiery leaders who will control the financial flows of the new era. Virgo. Nostradamus will classify Virgo as one of those rare signs that will come out on top not by chance, but through precise calculations, cold sobriety, and impeccable consistency. In 2026, her thinking about money will work like a well-tuned mechanism. No hysterics, no chaotic jerks, no throwing from side to side. Everything that Virgo does with finances will have logic, consistency, and a clear goal: to form capital that will be enough not only for comfort, but also for large-scale decisions. This sign will not chase luck. It will build a financial structure that can withstand any fluctuations. January for Virgo will be marked by a complete financial analysis. She will not shy away from numbers, will not hide her real expenses and true income level from herself. In the first weeks of the year, Virgo will get all her bills, statements and loan agreements, and calculate how much she actually spends on living, impulsive purchases, and debt servicing. A detailed financial statement will be drawn up. Fixed income, variable income, mandatory payments, and unnecessary expenses. Nostradamus, in his prophetic texts, will describe people who will begin their path to wealth with an honest look at the numbers, and Virgo will fall into this group. January will not bring her a sharp jump in money, but it is in this month that she will lay the foundation. She will eliminate at least one hole in her budget, cut back on some pointless expenses, and stop feeding other people's projects that bring neither profit nor prospects. In February, Virgo will shift her focus from saving to earning. Once the financial picture becomes clear, she will ask herself very specifically what type of activity will give the greatest return per unit of time and energy. In February, she will begin to review her professional strategy. Where she is paid below market value, she will begin to prepare her exit. Where there is potential for scaling, she will increase her presence. Nostradamus will remember people who understand that the most valuable resource is not money, but their time. This is exactly how Virgo will think. She will raise prices for her services, prescribe stricter terms of cooperation, and remove clients who eat up a lot of energy and return little money from her schedule. February's decisions will be the first real turn towards millionaire status. March will activate the entrepreneurial module in the Virgo. Even if she formally remains an employee, she will think like an owner. In March, she will start launching additional sources of income: consulting, individual projects, online products, affiliate programs, and services that do not depend on a single employer. Virgo will think about how to package her skills into a format that can be sold many times: courses, guides, templates, systems in which her experience will be monetized systematically rather than once. Nostradamus will talk about future millionaires as people who will stop directly exchanging time for money. March 2026 will be the month when Virgo moves from the salary line to the income from multiple sources line. April will bring tangible results from the first changes: new rate schedules, increased rates, renegotiated contracts, and additional projects will begin to generate significantly higher revenues. In April, Virgo will see that her calculations are working. As soon as she stops agreeing to the minimum, the money will really start to go up. But instead of immediately increasing her expenses, she will act differently. Part of the new income will immediately go into a pre-created reserve fund for several months of living expenses. Part will go into the development budget, training, tools, advertising, and part will go into a deferred amount for investments. Nostradamus will describe those who can resist the temptation to eat the first big money and redirect it to the future. Virgo will behave exactly like this in April, showing that she knows how to not only earn, but also manage resources. May will focus this sign's attention on the quality of their environment. Virgo will carefully review who they work with, who they communicate with, and to whom they disclose their financial plans. Where people constantly talk about shortages, crises, and the impossibility of earning money honestly, they will distance themselves. Instead, in May, they will seek out contacts who think in terms of higher numbers, work with large budgets, and have experience in capital creation. Nostradamus will note that money in the future will be concentrated in narrow circles where competence and trust are combined. May will be a month when Virgo will cautiously but purposefully enter such circles. It will not be a spectacular breakthrough, but several key acquaintances during this period will eventually bring contracts worth amounts approaching $1 million. In June, Virgo will begin to work with the topic of investment in practice, rather than in theory. By this point, she will already have a certain amount of money that she will not touch for daily needs. She will distribute this money among instruments that she will study in advance: deposits, bonds, funds, conservative investment products, and, if necessary, consultations with professionals. Virgo will not rush into high-risk schemes that promise instant gains. She will be interested in stable growth. In his writings on the era of financial upheaval, Nostradamus will mention that the greatest fortunes will be preserved by those who do not work with money blindly. June 2026 will move Virgo from the category of "I will invest someday" to the category of "I am already forming my investment core." July will be the month when Virgo's work begins to bring not only money, but also reputation. The first big clients will leave reviews, recommend her to their friends, and start a so-called chain of trust. In July, Virgo will receive requests without actively searching. She will be found through recommendations, previous results, and visibility in the professional environment. This will mean that she is moving from a market where she constantly has to prove her worth to a market where she will already be perceived as a high-level specialist. Nostradamus wrote about those who will achieve wealth through consistent quality and reputation, rather than loud promotions. July will be the first month for Virgo when her name will begin to work as a separate asset. August will shift the focus from the professional field to internal financial limits. Virgo will think a lot about how much money she allows herself to accept. If previously the mindset, "I don't need much," lived deep in her consciousness, in August it will dissolve. Virgo will review her own limits. What monthly income is comfortable for her? What level of reserves will give her a sense of security? What bar she will set for herself as a goal? Nostradamus will emphasize that internal limitations are often stronger than external ones. In August 2026, Virgo will remove these very barriers. She will learn to look at large numbers calmly, without thinking, "This is not about me." This internal shift will open up the opportunity for her to accept a completely different level of reward. September will reinforce the theme of strategic planning. By this time, Virgo will already have several working sources of income, financial reserves, and initial investments. In September, she will draw up a plan for the year ahead, which projects she will continue, which she will scale up, which she will abandon, and which new niches she will test. Each point of the plan will be backed up by specific figures: expected income, expenses, and potential profitability. Nostradamus would see in such people the future architects of prosperity, who will not leave their lives to chance, but will chart their financial trajectory. For Virgo, September will be the month when $1 million will cease to be a distant idea and become a figure written into the plan as a goal that will sum up all the streams. October in her life will be associated with decisions regarding material assets. During this period, Virgo will be ready for large purchases, which in themselves are a tool for growth. Real estate for rent, an office or space for business, equipment that will generate income, a share in a project that has already proven itself. She will not buy things for status. It is important to her that every large asset brings either money or significant advantages in her work. In his prophecies, Nostradamus left an image of people who will transfer their resources from a volatile format to a solid one. October 2026 will show that Virgos are capable not only of accumulating, but also of transforming what they have accumulated into something that will work for years. November will reveal the effect of scale. By this point, every decision Virgo has made, from cutting unnecessary expenses in January to acquiring assets in October, will have built on each other, creating a cumulative result. In November, she will see this very clearly. The amount in her accounts, the value of her assets, the volume of her investments, and the cash flow from various sources. The figures will add up to the very million that Nostradamus warned about as a real milestone for the chosen ones. At the same time, Virgo will not perceive this as a miracle. For her, it will be the logical conclusion of a year in which there was no room for chaos. All the steps taken earlier will begin to work simultaneously, and this will give her a sense of control over the situation. December will not ruin financial results with unnecessary emotionality. Unlike many who tend to spend uncontrollably at the end of the year, Virgo will behave with restraint. Yes, she will allow herself certain purchases as a reward for a busy year. But the bulk of her capital will remain in the structure: reserves, investments, assets. In December, she will adjust her financial goals, review plans for the next period, and set new income targets. Nostradamus, in his prophecies, will single out people who manage not to squander their first large fortune on short-term desires. Virgo will demonstrate just such behavior. Her million will not be the last leap forward, but will become the basis for the next steps. The entire year 2026 for Virgo will be built around several basic principles: accounting for every amount, understanding the value of time, pragmatic choice of partners, cautious attitude to risk, systematic multiplication of what has already been earned. This will not be a path through noisy adventures, lotteries, or risky leaps. Nostradamus would use the image of a quiet builder of destiny for this type of person, who, unnoticed by others, builds a strong financial fortress for themselves. Virgo will act exactly like this in 2026. She will position herself not as a lucky person, but as a specialist who knows what steps will bring in what money. That is why her millionaire status will not be a temporary peak, but a stable reality that can be verified by numbers, contracts, and assets. Libra. In 2026, Libras will not just be looking for money, they will be reformatting their entire approach to wealth, influence, and partnership. Nostradamus's quatrains depict people who will learn to weigh every financial decision as carefully as a lawyer weighs every clause of a contract. This is the category to which he will assign the energy of Libra: those who will abandon chaotic earnings and begin to strictly separate the profitable from the toxic, the promising from the exhausting. Their main strength in 2026 will not be luck, but the ability to combine aesthetic taste, social intelligence, and financial cold-bloodedness in such a way that the result is capital on $1 million scale. At the beginning of the year, in January and February, Libras will literally deal with their own financial scales. They will not shy away from numbers. On the contrary, they will sit down and write out all their sources of income, all their regular expenses, and all their long-standing obligations. It will become clear that some of their money consistently goes to support the needs of others, some goes to impulse purchases, and some simply disappears into trifles. These 2 months will be devoted to eliminating imbalances, stopping financing things that do not give any return, cutting back on unnecessary subscriptions, negotiating more favorable terms on loans, and legally settling old debts. It is during this winter period that the scales will be laid. They will give up the role of wallet for everyone and prepare space for large sums that will come later. Nostradamus will hint that those who aspire to become millionaires will first have to put their affairs in order, and Libras will take this very literally in 2026. Starting in March, Libras' focus will shift toward partnerships and contracts. This sign will not earn money in a vacuum. Its nature always seeks interaction. In March and April, Libras will actively enter into new alliances, business associations, creative collaborations, professional tandems. They will carefully read every clause of the agreements, adding what they were previously shy about: a clear percentage, bonuses for results, specified payment terms, penalties for delays. Their contracts will no longer be verbal. Everything will be recorded. Nostradamus, in his visions, will warn that in the future, those who learn to legally protect their interests in time will become richer. The spring months will lead Libras down this path. They will stop working by agreement, which is then easily forgotten, and begin to build financial relationships where fairness and profit are recorded in black and white. The period of May and June will be particularly strong. Libras will go beyond a single source of income, but they will do so delicately, without sudden leaps. Their natural ability to see different sides of a situation will allow them to spread the risks. For example, part of the money will come from their main job or stable business, another part from services where they act as intermediaries, and a third part from projects related to beauty, art, image, marketing, and consulting, where a sense of style and balance is required. In May, Libras will begin to clearly understand which of their talents are best monetized. The ability to negotiate, create a harmonious space, promote the ideas of others, and find compromises between parties. In June, these abilities will be exchanged for specific fees. Nostradamus will write about people who will earn money not by creating conflict, but by resolving it, and Libras will fit perfectly into this image during this period. The summer of 2026 will be a time when the public component comes to the fore for Libras. In July and August, they will show themselves, speak, host broadcasts, launch information products, showcase their projects, and work with audiences. The more attention they receive, the more expensive their services will become. Libras will no longer agree to make us beautiful for a symbolic price. Everything related to their participation in branding, design, promotion, organization, and communication will have a clear price tag. At this time, customers from a different financial level will appear: agencies, companies, and business owners who are used to paying for quality. Nostradamus will describe in his quatrains the images of people whose beauty and sophistication will become a source of wealth. And it is in the summer that Libras will feel how their taste and ability to create aesthetics that sell will begin to bring in sums that they would have been ashamed to even dream of before. September will add another important detail to this picture: the ability to count and record. Libras will stop ignoring the numbers behind their success. In September, they will compile financial tables, see which areas of work bring in the most, and which only create the appearance of busyness. They will cut out some activities without regret, even if they look prestigious, but do not generate profit. Instead, the plan will include projects where profitability is clearly visible. How much time and resources were invested, how much money was returned. Nostradamus will hint that the air signs will change their attitude toward numbers when they realize that without accounting, there will be no capital. September will be the moment when Libras accept that their charm is a tool, but it needs to be backed up by strict financial discipline. The autumn months, October and November, will bring Libras the opportunity to reach a whole new level. In October, they will find themselves in negotiations where the stakes will not be small sums, but large budgets, interest rates, and shares in projects. Libras will not just sign up for a fixed fee, but will ask for a share of the profits or a percentage of the turnover if their contribution really affects the result. And here the main feature of this sign will manifest itself: the ability to balance interests. They will not skew agreements in their favor to the point of absurdity, but they will also not allow others to take the lion's share, leaving them with crumbs. Nostradamus will touch on the topic of honest wealth in some of his texts, where all parties win. In November, Libras will be making such deals. They will earn significant amounts of money, and their partners will remain satisfied and want to continue working. This will create long-term relationships that will then bring in money for years to come. At the same time, in October and November, the topic of foreign markets and remote clients will become more active in the lives of Libras. They will go beyond the borders of one city or country, work with people from other cultures, and sometimes in other languages. Their natural diplomacy will be the key to contracts where payment will be in foreign currency and where the amount for one contract will be equal to what they previously earned in several months. Nostradamus, describing the era of mixed economies, will mention those who manage to work at the intersection of different worlds. Libras will find themselves at this intersection in the final part of the year. They will understand the expectations of European clients, have a keen sense of trends, and combine local reality with global demand. This will immediately raise the value of their work. December 2026 will not be just a festive month for Libras. It will be a time to take stock of their personal finances, which will surprise even them. They will have several stable sources of income, rather than just one, as was once the case. Some of the money will already be invested in something tangible, perhaps investment instruments, perhaps business processes that operate without their daily involvement, perhaps material things that do not depreciate. The amount in their accounts and assets will exceed the limit that Nostradamus set for the chosen ones. The $1 million mark will become a reality. Libras will see that this did not fall from the sky. It is the result of the fact that throughout the year they did not betray their nature as harmonizers, but finally learned to put other people's expectations on one side of the scales and their own interests on the other. Throughout 2026, another important thing will change for Libras: their attitude towards their own value. They will stop apologizing for their fees. They will talk about money calmly, without guilt or aggression. If someone finds their terms too high, Libras will simply move on without lowering their standards. Nostradamus described people who, having finally assessed themselves, will change their financial class. This is exactly what the path of Libras will look like, not through loud conflicts, not through the destruction of competitors, but through a clear awareness that their talent, taste, ability to negotiate, create beauty and balance are very expensive. In 2026, this sign will be able to prove it not with words, but with numbers. They will be among the few who can be called people who have made millions with their own decisions. their own character, and their ability to make profitable what for others remained just a pretty picture. And this will be the line that Nostradamus left many years ago for those born under the sign of Libra and ready to take responsibility not only for the comfort of others, but also for their own great prosperity. Scorpio. In 2026, Scorpio will enter the narrow financial echelon that Nostradamus wrote about as those who will not fear the power of large sums and responsibility for them. Money in his life will cease to be a matter of struggle for survival and will become an instrument of power, control, influence, and the realization of long-delayed ambitions. They will not wait for mercy from circumstances, will not count on a random gift of fate, but will act decisively, deeply, and strategically in their signature style. That is why, at the end of the year, Scorpio will be among those signs for whom $1 million will not be a pipe dream, but a real financial milestone. In January, Scorpio will coldly and precisely sort out everything related to their money. They will review accounts, credit histories, debts, old obligations, unprofitable subscriptions, and temporary decisions that have long become a burden. This month, they will be ruthless with financial chaos. They will terminate unnecessary contracts, sever ties with people who have been using their resources for years, and cancel obligations that have kept them tied to the past. Nostradamus associated the energy of Scorpio with the ability to surgically cut out rotten areas, and in January 2026, this will manifest itself in the financial sphere. He will abandon everything that does not give a direct or strategic financial result, freeing up a powerful springboard for further steps. In February, Scorpio will focus on the theme of power and control. He will ask himself very specific questions. Who really controls his income? Has he handed over the reins to someone else? Is he too dependent on one employer, one contract, one partnership? This month will be associated with a review of sources of income. Where they feel they are being kept on a short leash, they will prepare to leave or change conditions. Where they see potential, they will demand a percentage, a share, real influence on decisions. Nostradamus, in his writings, described people who understand that real money will be in the hands of those who control the process, not those who follow orders. Scorpio's actions in February will be just that. He will move from the position of a subordinate to the position of a player sitting at the main table. March will be the month when Scorpio begins to launch financial mechanisms that will work for him even when he is resting. He will be looking not just for additional side jobs, but for systems where a single decision will create a long-term cash flow, a share in a business, investments in projects with a strong core, participation in partnership programs that bring in a percentage without his daily presence. During this period, he will analyze where exactly he can use his strategic depth in management, analytics, crisis negotiations, and the revival of dead areas. Nostradamus emphasized that representatives of this sign will be able to bring back to life what others have written off as a loss and monetize it. March 2026 will give them their first such cases when, thanks to their intervention, a business or project will turn from a loss to a profit, and they will receive a share of this turnaround. April will bring Scorpio's very clear lessons about trust in money. He will see who he can really open up his budget, plans, and future sums to, and with whom he should remain as closed as possible. This month, attempts at manipulation may appear. Someone will want to borrow. Someone will offer dubious schemes. Someone will try to drag him into stories with high risk and vague guarantees. Scorpio, with their natural ability to sense people, will check these offers for profit and safety in April. Nostradamus warned in his prophecies that some future millionaires will avoid traps only because they will sense the rot behind the pretty words in time. Scorpio in April 2026 will be one of those. They will turn around and walk away from what others would consider the opportunity of the year, and on the contrary, agree to strict but transparent conditions that will bring real money. May will be associated with very active professional fulfillment. Scorpios will take on difficult tasks that few would agree to do. Crisis audits, business restructuring, launching risky but promising ventures, resolving conflicts between co-owners, working with problematic clients that everyone is afraid of losing. Their ability to dig deeper than others will be rewarded accordingly. They will not talk about a fixed salary, but about large fees for results, about a percentage of the amounts saved or earned. Nostradamus described that representatives of this sign will receive money where others cannot withstand the pressure. May 2026 will make this formula visible. Scorpio will go where the action is and come out with significant financial gains. In June, Scorpio will shift its focus from short-term gains to long-term strategy. It will look not only at how much it will earn in a month, but also at what its financial situation will look like in a year, 3 years, 5 years. They will create financial footholds for themselves, reserve funds, investment accounts, structures that will allow them to calmly weather any fluctuations. At the same time, they will not become cautious in a bad way. The risk will remain, but it will be calculated. Nostradamus saw among the future wealthy Scorpios those who would be able to keep their finger on the pulse of risk and on the document with numbers at the same time. In June 2026, this sign will be able to combine its sense of energy with strict financial mathematics, and this will have a very strong effect on the entire future trajectory. July will be marked by a sharp increase in cash flow. Several important events may coincide at this time. The closing of a large deal, receiving a share of the profits, the payment of bonuses for successfully implemented projects, and the return of previously invested funds with a bonus. Scorpios will see amounts that previously seemed fantastic coming into their accounts. But instead of falling into euphoria, they will act with restraint. They will immediately withdraw part of this money from circulation. Someone else in their place would rush to spend it. But Scorpios will direct large sums to new assets that can generate even more income. Nostradamus emphasized in his prophecies that those who are not afraid of their own success and are able to manage it will rise to very high material levels. July 2026 is all about that. In August, Scorpio will be looking into the topic of global influence. They will understand that their accumulated resources open doors to places they were not allowed before. Serious investment clubs, participation in major negotiations, cooperation with people who operate with very significant capital. This month, they will not just be a middleweight player, but someone who will be invited to the table where major financial issues are decided. They will be listened to as an analyst, as someone who sees what is hidden behind the facade. Nostradamus described the Scorpios of the future as those who will influence not only their own wallets, but also the financial flows of others. August will show the first signs of this role. His word will be worth money, not only for himself, but also for those around him. The autumn block, September, October, November, will be a time of consolidation and consolidation. In September, Scorpio will take stock of how much has actually passed through his hands, what assets have already been created, which financial agreements are working, and which ones need to be reviewed. They will adjust their strategy, strengthening some things, rejecting others, changing the format of cooperation in some areas, or leaving behind stories that have exhausted their potential. In October, they will focus on their material base, real estate, land, business structures, and legal constructs that will consolidate their status. He will formalize what he has created, register, legally protect, and transfer to secure forms. Nostradamus emphasized in his writings that those who do not consolidate their success will lose it as soon as the wind changes. The fall of 2026 will be a period when Scorpio will cement his financial foundation. November will be the month when the million-dollar amplitude becomes apparent. If you add up income, asset value, reserves, shares in projects, and already signed contracts for the near future, the total figure will reach the level that Nostradamus reserved for only a few. Scorpio will realize that he has crossed the line where money ceases to be just a sum of expenses and becomes a force to be reckoned with. He will understand that from now on, any decision will affect not a few hundred or thousand, but 6 or 7 digits on the balance sheet. This will force them to pay even more attention to details, checking contractors, controlling documents, and transferring some of their functions to professional financiers in order to preserve and multiply what has already been achieved. December 2026 will not be the culmination for Scorpio, but rather the entry point into the next scale. They will look back on the path they have traveled and see a chain of decisions, a rigorous purge of the superfluous at the beginning of the year, a change in the structure of income, entry into complex but profitable projects, the competent distribution of large sums, the registration of assets, and the protection of capital. In December, they will not squander their earnings on chaotic holidays. Yes, he will allow himself symbolic gestures, gifts, gratitude to those who walked alongside him, but the bulk of the money will remain in the system. In his prophecies, Nostradamus made a special mention of those Scorpios who will look beyond 1 year. And this is exactly what his situation will look like at the end of 2026. He will not just reach the million mark, but will already be building a trajectory that leads even higher. This entire financial line of the year for Scorpio will be permeated by one consistent motif: the rejection of weakness in the face of money. He will not bow down to those who have more. He will not justify his fees. He will not agree to offers where his power is to be used for a minimal fee. Instead, they will act as Nostradamus saw them, as a figure who knows their worth and is ready to take responsibility for large resources. That is why 2026 will be a year in the life of Scorpio, when a million becomes a natural extension of their character, decisions, and ability to withstand pressure where others cannot even bear to talk about big money. Sagittarius. For Sagittarius, 2026 will be the year when the topic of money finally moves from the realm of abstract dreams and someday to the realm of very specific numbers, actions, and results. The old seer from Provence, known to the world as Nostradamus, will describe people who look beyond their own city, their own country, their own profession, and, thanks to this foresight, will be able to reach a completely different financial level. Sagittarius will belong to this group. They will not be motivated by small things, but will be interested in large sums, scale, freedom of movement, and the opportunity to earn money where most people would not even see a chance. That is why this sign will have all the prerequisites in 2026 to enter the category of people with millions in capital. The first months of the year will set the stage. From January to March, Sagittarius will be forced to do what they usually avoid: sit down, take stock, and analyze their current financial situation. In January, they will see that previous years have been uneven. Periods of high earnings alternated with lulls, and as a result, money was dissolved in spontaneous expenses, unplanned trips, support for others, and ill-considered purchases. This month, will force him to answer honestly to himself how much he really wants to have in his accounts and what he is willing to do to achieve this. Not general phrases like, "I want to earn more," but a specific target. $1 million as a financial goal, broken down into intermediate amounts by month and area of activity. In February, Sagittarius will no longer be satisfied with a single source of income. A list will be created of everything he can do: teach, motivate, sell, organize, write, consult, negotiate, create content, work with people from different cultures. Each item on this list will be considered not as a talent, but as a potential area of monetization. During this period, they will plan how to translate some of their skills into separate product lines: author programs, educational projects, media formats, consulting, participation in the launch of other people's businesses in exchange for a share. Nostradamus will indicate in his writings that those who go far beyond the scope of a single role will gain access to money of a different order. In February, Sagittarius will arrange their own multifunctionality into such a system. March will bring the first sharp turn. This month, the main feature of this sign will begin to manifest itself: the ability to act boldly when others are still hesitant. Sagittarius will agree to projects that seem too risky, too big, or too bold to those around them. But the difference will be that they will not go in blindly. They will calculate each step according to basic parameters: the amount of work, the deadlines, the possibility of scaling, and the potential returns. If the expected result matches their new financial threshold, they will take it. If not, they will refuse without unnecessary drama. It is in March that the type of decisions will be made that will ultimately bring in $1 million. Not chaotic attempts, but the selection of projects based on their potential. The second half of the year, from April to August, will be a period of great acceleration. In April, the theme of geographical and professional expansion will enter the life of Sagittarius. They will consider offers from other cities and countries, participation in conferences, cooperation with foreign clients, and entry into new markets where pay is traditionally higher. This sign will not be tied to one market. If they have language skills or the ability to work through translation, they will use it. In April, a map will gradually be drawn up, where they would like to earn money, what audiences they want to reach, and in which currencies they plan to receive income. May will add an educational component to this expansion. Sagittarius will clearly understand that in order to earn more, they need to think and act at the level of those who already have a lot of money. They will invest money not only in technology, advertising, or travel, but also in their competence, courses in international business, financial literacy, digital marketing, negotiations, and startup structure. Unlike the chaotic consumption of information in previous years, now several key areas will be selected and investments will be directed precisely there. The prophet from Salon indicated in his quatrains that some people with a fiery nature will join the elite precisely because of their education, which will then translate into concrete decisions and deals. May 2026 will be the moment when Sagittarius stops skimping on knowledge and starts viewing it as an investment in future large fees. Summer, June, July, August, will bring high dynamics. In June, the first large-scale products will begin to be launched. These may be online programs, service complexes, production packages for other specialists. Joint businesses, where Sagittarius will be responsible for ideas, strategy, and promotion. They will not work alone. They will create teams, negotiate with partners, and bring people together for joint projects. Part of the profit in such stories will go to him immediately, part in the form of a percentage of future results. It is in June that the first flaw of his future capital will be laid. Stable sales, subscriptions, repeat orders. In July, intensive communication with the audience will be added to this. Sagittarius will be actively present in the information space. Videos, live broadcasts, publications, interviews, speeches, participation in crowded events. His natural ability to speak simply about complex things will begin to work as a direct funnel into money. All content will not be just for recognition, but with a well-thought-out logic. What service, product, or offer it highlights. What the next step will be for the viewer or reader. How this translates into applications and payments. Nostradamus noted in his prophecies that in the future, words and images will be directly converted into resources. July will be the month when Sagittarius will see a direct connection. Active outreach to the public will lead to an increase in income. August will be the month of the first serious test of freedom. When larger than usual amounts are deposited into accounts, there will be a temptation to immediately spend everything on exciting experiences, expensive trips, and status symbols. But 2026 will work with this sign differently. Sagittarius will remember why they started this financial year and will immediately set aside part of the money in separate baskets: reserves, investments, business development. They will allow themselves pleasant expenses, but will not let the money melt away. This is where the same level of inner maturity that Nostradamus mentioned when he spoke of the few who would be able to withstand an encounter with big money will manifest itself. Autumn 2026 will create a completely different picture for Sagittarius than at the start. September will be the time when they begin to tighten the screws in terms of structure. The schedule, which was previously chaotic, will be systematized. Specific hours for working on projects, time blocks for negotiations, a separate space for strategic planning, and periods of rest so as not to burn out. This month, they will see that without a routine, it is impossible to scale their income. They have energy and plenty of ideas, but without structure, money slips away. September will teach them to turn their activity into a manageable process where each day has its own financial function. In October, the topic of large deals will become more active. Sagittarius will enter into negotiations involving significant budgets, long-term cooperation, and profit sharing. He will act not just as a contractor or service provider, but as a partner who enters into projects with a say and a share. A deal signed during this period could provide him with a serious cash flow for many months to come. In his visions, Nostradamus described people who would change their financial trajectory with a single deal. But this deal would not be a random gift. They would prepare for it for years. For Sagittarius, October 2026 will be just such a moment, the signing of a contract that they have been working towards through all the previous decisions of the year. November will highlight the topic of investment in an even more concrete form. If earlier investment steps were limited to more or less standard instruments, now Sagittarius will look at the possibility of entering real businesses, acquiring shares in companies that are close to them in terms of values and subject matter. He will evaluate them not only by the numbers, but also by their growth potential, synergy with his own projects, and the opportunity to influence strategic decisions. This month, they will become not only an entrepreneur and a specialist, but also, in part, an investor who understands that $1 million is not only about earnings, but also about owning a share of the machines that generate profit. The final month of the year, December, will bring all of this into a clear financial conclusion. Sagittarius will have several powerful sources of income: their main business or professional direction, partnership projects, information products, and possibly the first dividends from investments. When they add up all the income for the year, the value of assets, the amounts in their accounts, and the deals already signed, The figure will reach a level that previously seemed unattainable. This is exactly how Nostradamus described the chosen fire signs, as people who, in a relatively short period of time, will rise from the middle class to millionaire status, not through a random win, but through a series of decisions made without fear, but with wisdom. Throughout 2026, Sagittarius will see changes not only in their financial status, but also in their inner worldview. They will stop seeing money as something that either exists or does not exist. They will begin to see it as a consequence of their own strategies, environment, decisions, education, courage, and discipline. They will talk less about dreams and more about specific goals, deadlines, numbers, and formats. Their natural love of freedom will not go away, but freedom will be based not on chance, but on capital. This will coincide with the line that Nostradamus outlined for Sagittarians centuries ago. Those who look far ahead and are not afraid of large scale will be among those who can be safely called millionaires in 2026 as a result of their own actions. Capricorn. In 2026, Capricorn will enter a period of life when their restrained ambition and ability to work long distances will finally translate into concrete financial scale. What previously looked like workaholism without any visible bonus will this year yield financial results, which Capricorns themselves will initially view with cold skepticism. In the old prophetic texts attributed to Nostradamus, there are references to people who will rise slowly and then, in a single year, reap the fruits of 10 years of effort. Capricorn will belong to this type. They will not jump between ideas, but will set their sights on large sums, sticking to their style, structurally, systematically, without fuss, but with a strict internal standard. January for Capricorn will start not with emotions, but with a cold audit. They will break down their entire professional and financial reality into blocks: main job, additional projects, old promises, unclosed contracts, debts, financial tails, unprofitable subscriptions, weak points in the budget. This month, they will not spare themselves and will not cover up the real figures with nice explanations. If something works at zero or in the red, it will be honestly recorded. Capricorns will look closely at where they are underpaid, where they give more than they should, and where their skills are paid below market level. January will be the month when he tells himself, from now on, not a single hour will be sold cheaply. No project will drag on for years without real returns. No agreement will remain unresolved. This internal decision will be the starting point for the financial breakthrough that Nostradamus referred to for Earth signs as the year of the great harvest. In February, Capricorns will move from analysis to reformatting. They will move away from the role of irreplaceable performer and move toward the position of a person who sets the framework. During this period, contracts, salaries, and terms of cooperation will be reviewed. Where they have been stuck at the old rate for years, they will raise the issue of revising their remuneration. Where there is no prospect, they will prepare to leave or look for an alternative. Capricorn will not burn bridges impulsively, but he will clearly understand that if he wants to see completely different amounts in his accounts in 6 months, he needs to ruthlessly remove everything that does not contribute to growth now. February letters, meetings, and negotiations will have a very pragmatic agenda: clear figures, new positions, and rewritten agreements. Nostradamus emphasized in his quatrains that those who learn to say no to cheap assessments of their work will be the first to enter the category of great wealth. Capricorn will demonstrate exactly this behavior in February. March will open up a new horizon of responsibility for this sign. Capricorn will receive offers related to management, leadership positions, participation in supervisory boards, supervision of areas, co-ownership of businesses, management of other people's resources. The question of time will become critical. They will not be able to do everything as before and take on additional functions simply out of habit. March will force them to count not only money, but also hours. They will make decisions where their investment of time will return the greatest amount. If a position requires maximum effort and provides minimal income growth, it will be removed from the list of priorities. If, on the other hand, the management status provides real access to large budgets, a percentage of profits, and bonuses amounting to 5 or 6 figures, Capricorn will agree. These decisions will already reflect the million-dollar scale that the prophet from Provence described for people of structure. April will be a month of long-term plans, formalized not in the mind, but on paper and in documents. Capricorn will map out a financial trajectory for 1, 3, or 5 years. What income levels will suit them, what assets they will have, what debts they will finally pay off, and how much their private reserves will amount to. They will calculate how much they need to earn each month, so that $1 million does not remain just a nice number in a notebook. These calculations will not be abstract, but working parameters. Against this backdrop, Capricorns will begin to look closely at investment instruments. Not risky crypto speculation, but stable, structured products that they understand logically. Bonds, conservative funds, long-term investments. Nostradamus noted in his writings that earth signs will be among those who master the new language of money, the language of instruments, not just salaries. In April 2026, Capricorns will be actively learning this language. May will bring an intensification of contacts with powerful players. Capricorns will find themselves in circles where the discussion is not about minor everyday problems, but about contracts, projects, investments, mergers, and expansion. They will not try to impress anyone with words, but will listen carefully, take notes, and analyze. During this period, offers to participate in major projects may arise: joint ventures, partnerships, entry into existing structures, where their skills as a systematizer, crisis manager, and cool-headed manager will be especially valuable. May will bring a very noticeable contrast. Where some will be frightened by the scale and responsibility, Capricorn will focus and agree, clearly understanding that it is precisely such measures that open the way to millions. Nostradamus described people who would not give up great opportunities just because of fear and novelty. This is precisely the position that Capricorn will take in the spring. June will be the month when the financial discipline of this sign reaches a new level. They will not just save, but optimize. Capricorns will begin to build a financial system for themselves, several accounts for different tasks, strict division of income into blocks, operating expenses, reserves, investments, development, personal needs. They will introduce strict rules. For example, a certain percentage of each large payment will automatically go into an investment basket rather than spontaneous purchases. Another percentage will be directed toward repaying outstanding debt obligations. A clearly defined portion will go toward education and strengthening competencies. Nostradamus noted in his prophetic texts that for people of the earth element, wealth will be not so much a gift as a skill. June 2026 will demonstrate that Capricorns are developing this skill systematically, day after day. In July, the first serious financial results of this approach will begin to appear. Capricorns will receive substantial bonuses, commissions, and interest from successful projects, as well as payments for completed large tasks. Amounts that previously seemed rare will appear more often in their accounts, but their reaction will not be emotional. July will be a month of quiet accumulation. They will look at the numbers and perceive them not as a reason for fireworks, but as confirmation that the strategy is working. It is during this period that he will feel his chronic fear of instability disappear. By that time, he will already have reserves covering several months of living expenses and his first tangible investment amounts. Nostradamus used the image of a man standing firmly on a rock amid the waves for such moments. Capricorn's state in July will be very close to this image. August will be associated with the theme of status. Capricorn will begin to see how the attitude of colleagues, partners, and those around them is changing. Their opinion will be sought not out of politeness, but because decisions involving large sums of money really depend on it. During this period, a new level may be formally established: a promotion, entry into the circle of co-owners of the company, or official confirmation of a share in the project. Capricorn will behave with restraint, but inside, they will feel that they are finally taking the place they should have taken long ago. August will also push them to be more demanding of themselves. They will dress differently, present themselves differently, and pay more attention to how their work environment, documents, and public image look. This will not be an empty demonstration, but a response to a situation where their inner scale begins to coincide with their external attributes. September will focus on practical learning. Capricorn will understand that managing large sums of money requires a deeper understanding of the financial system. He will turn to experts, financial advisors, lawyers, tax advisors, investment specialists. They will understand the legal structures that allow them to protect their assets, structure their business, and optimize their tax burden through legal methods. In September, they will not spare any expense for quality advice, understanding that one correct scheme can save them what they will earn over the years. Nostradamus noted in his prophecies that those who are not too lazy to understand the rules of the game in the new economic conditions will remain rich. Capricorns will study these rules very carefully in September. October will be a month of big decisions regarding assets. By this point, Capricorns will have accumulated enough savings to consider acquiring or expanding their material base: real estate, commercial space, offices, production facilities, land, and business equipment. They will choose not what looks good in photos, but what can actually generate income or retain value. No random purchases. Every big step will be backed up by calculations, forecasts, and consultations. October will make it very clear that Capricorns are no longer thinking in terms of "how much did I earn this month?" but rather, "what kind of asset system am I building?" Nostradamus wrote about such systems, referring to people who will transform their labor and experience into capital that is separate from their physical presence. November will show the effect of compound interest, not only in a financial sense, but also in a professional sense. Income from management positions, interest from participation in business, income from assets, dividends from investments, bonuses for exceeding plans, fees for complex consultations. All this will add up to a very large cash flow. Capricorn will see that over the course of the year, they have managed to raise their financial bar several times. If at the beginning of 2026 a certain amount seemed like the maximum dream for a month, then in November such an amount may come from a single deal. They will not announce this loudly, but the inner feeling of material strength will become very concrete. This is exactly what Nostradamus meant when he wrote about people of stone who will stand firm amid general instability. December in the life of a Capricorn will be marked by strategic silence. Outwardly, it may look almost the same as a year ago, the same restrained style, the same work routine, the same habits. But if you look at the numbers, the picture will be different. When they calculate all their income for the year, add the value of their assets, the amounts in their investment and reserve accounts, as well as the contracts already signed for the next period, They will see the same million-dollar scale that had long existed only as an idea. For some, this result will seem like a miracle, but for him, it will be a logical consequence of how he lived each month of 2026. December will be the moment when Capricorn internally agrees that he no longer belongs to the category of people who live only from task to task. He will perceive himself as the owner of capital, responsible for its movement, protection, and further growth. Throughout the year, Capricorn's main tool will not be luck, but structure. He will make unpopular decisions, choose difficult but profitable options, and refuse quick but small money in favor of large and systematic gains. He will keep his word in contracts and demand the same from others. They will work harder than those who are used to complaining but not moving. But they will work not chaotically, but according to clear financial logic. This is exactly how Nostradamus described earthly people who will enter the year of great abundance as those who have earned every unit of currency with their consistency and inner backbone. Capricorn in 2026 will be one of those. He will turn his own discipline into a million and see with his own eyes that the long years of tension have not disappeared anywhere. They have been converted into the capital he silently dreamed of while working when others gave up. Aquarius. In 2026, Aquarius will earn money not through routine, but through the ability to think where others see nothing yet. Old predictions attributed to Nostradamus mention people of an airy nature who will work with future technologies, networks, and ideas that are ahead of their time. And because of this, they will come into large amounts of capital. Aquarius will belong to this group. They will not ask for quiet, stable work. They will need freedom, scale, and the opportunity to earn money from innovations, the online environment, and unusual forms of cooperation. In January, Aquarius will not be preoccupied with beautiful dreams. They will switch to numbers and structure. During this period, they will consolidate all financial information into one place: salaries, fees, project payments, small side jobs, regular expenses, subscriptions, loans, and spontaneous purchases. Previously, this may have existed in their head as rough estimates, but now everything will be written down specifically. It will turn out that part of the money is constantly going to digital noise, unnecessary services, unused platforms, impulsive online orders. Aquarius will make a pragmatic decision to get rid of everything that does not give knowledge, time, or real benefits. They will not be interested in saving for the sake of saving, but in freeing up their budget for investments in their own ideas and tools that will really work for them. February will force Aquarius to look at their professional role differently. They will stop perceiving themselves only as a specialist who performs the tasks of others. During this period, they will compile a list of their skills that are particularly valuable in an era of change: the ability to work with information systems, platforms, social networks, online communities, new media, and analytics. Added to this will be the ability to generate ideas, spot trends, and bring people together around a project. February will be the month when Aquarius begins to turn this into not a chaos of talents, but specific areas of income, launching their own digital products, consulting, participating in the development of services aimed at a wide audience, and working with international clients. In his prophetic texts, Nostradamus described such people as intermediaries between the present and what is just being born. And for Aquarius, in 2026, this will be a very accurate definition. March will tie earnings to networks and contacts. Aquarius will consciously expand their professional environment: specialized chats, online conferences, thematic forums, collaborations with specialists in related fields, IT, marketing, education, media, finance, creative industries. Each such acquaintance will not remain a mere formality. They will immediately begin to think about how they can benefit the other party and what they can really get in return: a joint product, partnership, share in a project, access to an audience, or a new sales channel. It is in March that the first talks will take place, which in a few months will result in contracts with significantly higher than usual pay. Prophetic texts mention that in the future, money will go to those who know how to work not alone, but in a network, and Aquarius will fully confirm this. April will translate ideas into concrete forms. The concepts that Aquarius pondered in February and March will begin to take shape in products, online courses, paid communities, digital services, subscription formats, author programs, and media projects. They will not try to make a perfect version on the first try. Instead, they will launch a working model to test demand, reaction, and people's willingness to pay. April will be a month of test launches. One group, one pilot product, one service package, but with clearly defined costs and requirements. He will immediately link his time to money and will not agree to conditional "we'll settle up later." For Aquarius, April 2026 will be a training ground for the skill of getting paid for intellect, not just for performing technical tasks. May will strengthen the intellectual component of his income. During this period, they will work extensively with analytics, user data, viewing statistics, interaction indicators, sales conversions, reviews, and pilot project results. Aquarians will reconfigure their products and services based on real figures. If a format does not work, they will not stick with it just because they like it. Instead, they will strengthen what brings in money, even if it looks less attractive on the outside. Nostradamus wrote that some of the future rich will work with numerical representations of reality better than astronomers. May 2026 will teach Aquarius to make financial decisions based on data rather than mood. In June, international opportunities will open up. Aquarians will see that their interests are not limited to one country and will begin to test the waters abroad. English language versions of products, participation in global platforms, registration on service marketplaces, collaboration with foreign customers through freelance platforms, and adaptation of content for different markets. Their natural openness to new things and ability to quickly understand digital tools will become an advantage that people will be willing to pay for. Payment in foreign currency will change their sense of scale. An amount that previously seemed substantial in local currency will now come for a single consultation or a small block of work for a foreign client. It was precisely such transitions that Nostradamus wrote about when he predicted that a group of people of air signs would go beyond the limits of local currency with their talents. July will be associated with workload and choice. Aquarians will be inundated with requests, new clients, invitations to collaborate, partnership offers. Previously, they may have tried to grab everything, but now they will be forced to choose. They will begin to rank projects, where there is a high paycheck, where there is potential for scaling, where there is access to a foreign audience, where there is access to unique technologies or markets. Anything that does not fit into the new financial trajectory will simply not make it into the calendar. July 2026 will be a period when Aquarius will refuse, not because they cannot, but because they see no point in working at the old rates. Their internal income threshold will rise and will not fall. August will teach this representative of the sign to understand the value of their own energy. They will feel that long periods without rest provoke a decline in creativity and a decrease in the quality of decisions. And for them, quality is directly linked to money. The better the ideas, the more they are paid for. Therefore, In August, clear windows for recovery will appear in the schedule, which he will not fill with additional tasks. This will not be an escape. It will be a strategy. He will consider his own head and nervous system as an asset that must not be brought to exhaustion. Nostradamus mentioned in his writings that certain people will have to learn to take care of their own source. Otherwise, financial success will be short-lived. For Aquarius, August will be all about this: how to stay in shape when the numbers in the account are increasing. The autumn months, September, October, November, will be a period of financial consolidation. In September, Aquarius will bring together all sources of income into a single picture: freelancing, products, consulting, affiliate commissions, investments, passive income from platforms where they have already posted their developments or content. Each stream will be given a status: primary, secondary, experimental. They will close some areas for good so as not to spread themselves too thin, while strengthening others, investing in advertising, delegating some technical processes, and hiring an assistant. September will be the month when he ceases to be a lone player, even if he formally remains self-employed. In October, Aquarius will enter into agreements where the content will no longer be about fees, but about shares and long-term financial interest. These may be co-authored digital products, participation in the launch of startups, partnerships with teams that create innovative services and need someone who understands audiences, marketing, and community building. They will carefully read contracts, record terms and conditions, and negotiate a transparent distribution of profits. It is precisely such agreements that will distinguish people who simply earned well in a particular year from those who formed $1 million as capital. Nostradamus's prophetic texts contain a hint that some of the air signs will receive wealth not through salaries, but through participation in large systems. October 2026 will bring Aquarius closer to this category. In November, another level will be added to this structure: investment. Aquarius will no longer keep all their money in current accounts. Part of their capital will be invested in more conservative instruments: deposits, bonds, and reliable funds. Another part will be invested in riskier but potentially high-margin ventures, which they will gain access to through their networks and partnerships. They will not put all their eggs in one basket. On the contrary, they will distribute their investments so that any instability on one front does not destroy the overall picture. November will be the month when Aquarius begins to think of himself as a portfolio owner, not just a high-income specialist. His thinking will shift from "how much will I earn this month?" to "what is my total capital and how is it growing?" December 2026 will show the final picture. By that time, Aquarius will already have stable contracts with clients from different countries, working digital products, a structure with several sources of income, a share in one or more joint projects, an investment portfolio, and reserves for several months ahead. If you add it all up, cash on hand, asset value, fixed contracts for future payments, the total will be in the millions. To some, this will look like sudden success through the internet, but in reality, it will be backed by all 12 months. An audit in January, reorientation in February, network solutions in the spring, launches in the summer, and structuring in the fall. Nostradamus spoke of those who would be able to combine lofty ideas with tangible results, and the Aquarius of 2026 will be the living embodiment of this formula. Throughout this period, his key tools will be the ability to see ahead, a willingness to experiment, quick adaptation to technological changes, the ability to work with people without being tied to borders, and inner freedom that does not interfere with financial discipline. Aquarius will not earn money like everyone else. They will create their own rules and connect to major trends: digital, social, and economic. That is why 2026 will end in their life not just with the phrase "start earning more," but with a clear fact: accumulated capital that allows them to call themselves a millionaire not in their dreams, but in reality, which can be counted. Pisces. Pisces will enter 2026 with a clear, almost physical awareness. Living solely on intuition without a financial strategy will no longer work, and this will be the starting point for their future millionaire status. Where the attitude of "it will work out somehow" used to dominate, a completely different internal formula will appear. I will manage my money as carefully as I manage my feelings. A 16th century French astrologer, known to the world as Nostradamus, hints at a sign that combines subtle intuition and financial practicality in some of his quatrains. And in 2026, Pisces will begin to realize this image in reality. In early January, Pisces will take an unvarnished look at their income and expenses. They will add up all their sources of income: salaries, fees, side jobs, random payments, and for the first time, honestly see that the total amount for the year could have been significantly higher if the money had not been dissolved in spontaneous purchases, other people's problems, and the habit of treating yourself right now. January will be a month of financial sobering up. Pisces will start writing down numbers instead of living by the feeling of more or less okay. A clear list will be created: mandatory payments, real needs, unnecessary expenses. Some subscriptions, loans, and habits will become obvious ballast, and the decision to eliminate them will be made without long hesitation. At this time, they will establish a new principle. Every amount spent will either strengthen their life or bring them closer to 1,000,000, and there will be no third category. February will add an emotional and psychological aspect to this picture. Pisces will begin to understand why they have allowed themselves to put off money matters until later for years. They will become aware of their own internal breaks: the fear of asking for decent pay, the desire to please everyone, the tendency to work on inspiration rather than on a clear agreement, and feelings of guilt when it comes to high fees. This month, a different internal position will form. They have the right to large sums of money because their sensitivity, empathy, creativity, and ability to see the essence of people are as valuable a resource as technical skills or managerial talent. It is in February that Pisces will begin to practice the simple phrase, "My work will cost this much," without excuses, nervous laughter, or internal tension. Nostradamus mentioned in several commented quatrains that in future eras, some people of a watery nature will come into a lot of money as soon as they stop being ashamed of their value, and February 2026 will be the first practical realization of this for Pisces. March will bring a completely different kind of activity. Pisces will stop playing the role of those who wait for an invitation. They will begin to initiate proposals themselves, writing to clients, coming up with ideas for partners, offering formats for cooperation, and launching their own products. Their professional field will be divided into 3 parts: what brings a stable income, what has the potential for scaling, and what takes a lot of energy without real return. They will cut the third category without regret, eliminating projects where their empathy was used but not valued. Instead, March will see the first monetized formats related to what Pisces do best: in-depth consultations, therapeutic practices, creative services, and working with an audience that is looking not for superficial solutions, but for real transformation. This will pay more than mechanical tasks, and Pisces will see that their strengths are finally starting to translate into money. April will create the first outlines of the system. Pisces, who are used to living by the principle of whatever happens, will suddenly notice that without at least some structure, they will not be able to withstand the flow of new opportunities. A calendar will be created with clearly marked slots for work, study, rest, and administrative matters. They will begin to record the time spent on each type of activity and correlate it with the amounts received. It will become clear that there are types of work that bring great emotional satisfaction but minimal income. There will also be tasks that are less romantic but much more profitable. April will teach Pisces to distribute their energy in such a way as to maintain balance. Part of their time will be devoted to the soul, part to the wallet, and ideally, to projects that combine both. It is this internal structuring that will allow them to invest large sums of money in the future within a clear framework, rather than losing them in creative chaos. May will activate the theme of learning and professional growth. Pisces will clearly understand that in order to claim higher fees, they need to improve the quality of their service, expand their tools, and deepen their expertise. They will begin to invest money in courses, supervision, mentoring, and specialized programs that strengthen their profession. Unlike in previous years, when they could buy training spontaneously and not follow through, in May the approach will be different. Each course will be chosen with a view to how it will increase their market value and how quickly these investments will pay off. After each training block, they will immediately incorporate new skills into their work, changing the format of services, raising prices, adding new offers for clients. This is how another line that researchers recognize in Nostradamus's quatrains is realized. Knowledge acquired, not for the sake of erudition, but for the sake of a specific strengthening of one's position in life. June will bring Pisces to another level of visibility. They will begin to express themselves more publicly. They will go online with their thoughts, original approaches, client stories, without revealing confidential details, advice, and methods. Those working in the creative field will be more active in showing their portfolios, processes, and results. Those in psychology, coaching, and spiritual practices will demonstrate the results of transformations and their work format. June will be the month when Pisces stop hiding. Their faces, voices, texts, and videos will become a bridge between them and those who are willing to pay them, rather than some abstract expert out there. Publicity will bring both hate and admiration, but most importantly, new cash flows. And this is where one of the motives hidden in the prophetic texts will be realized. In order to receive the gifts of the future, the water signs will have to come ashore and declare themselves. July will show the first significant jump in income. During this period, Pisces will close several large deals, collect entire streams of payments for programs, and receive fees for completed projects. For some, these will be large groups; for others, a large check for individual work; and for others, royalties or a percentage of a collective project. The overall picture will be the same. The amounts in accounts will begin to differ significantly from the usual, normal reality. The reaction of Pisces to this will be key. If earlier, in similar situations, they could spend everything on gifts for loved ones, creative impulses, trips, closing their eyes to the future, now a different approach will work. Part of the funds will go into reserve, in case of unforeseen circumstances. Some will be set aside for investments. Some will be directed toward development, technology, programs, professional trips, and team expansion. July will teach Pisces to feel big money without panic and without the desire to hide. And this will be one of the most important psychological turning points of the year. August will draw Pisces' attention to the topic of boundaries and protection. When noticeable financial results appear around them, People who suddenly remembered, have long wanted to ask, or always believed will become very active. During this period, there may be requests to lend money, invest in dubious ventures, support enthusiasm, or work for free for old friends. Pisces, who previously agreed easily, will react completely differently in August. They will begin to use the phrase no in practice, without excuses and without guilt. They will feel that every hryvnia, every euro, every dollar earned in 2026 did not fall from the sky, but came through hours of practice, learning, and internal struggles, and they will not squander this resource. This is precisely what will fit into one of the lines that commentators find in Nostradamus. Wealth will remain with those who learn to close the door on those who come only to take. September will shift the focus to systematic planning. By this time, Pisces will already have several channels of income, their main activity, additional formats, and possibly their first passive income from digital products or affiliate programs. In September, all these streams will be evaluated according to 3 parameters: stability, profitability, and alignment with personal values. Those that bring in little but require a huge amount of energy will be cut back. Those that yield good financial results without being exhausting will, on the contrary, be strengthened. Pisces will make plans not only for the rest of the year, but also for the following periods: which products they will keep, which they will reissue, and which they will bring to new markets. September will make it clear that 1 million is not born from a single successful project. It consists of dozens of decisions where Pisces choose structure over chaos, a strategic approach to their own future over pity for everyone. October will bring the topic of investment literacy to the fore. Pisces, who previously put off learning about banking products and tools for saving and growing capital for later, will be literally forced to dive into this area this month. They will begin to understand the differences between deposits, brokerage accounts, funds, bonds, how interest works, which risks are acceptable for their character and which are not. Some Pisces will seek advice from financial advisors, some will study the materials on their own, and some will combine both approaches. The task for October will be simple and at the same time difficult: to turn accumulated money into working money. Nostradamus did not know modern terms in his era, but the idea is easily recognizable in the metaphors of his quatrains. True rich people do not carry their treasures in their hands. They build them into systems that do not collapse at the first sign of trouble. November will put a bold emphasis on everything that Pisces have done before. During this period, several significant financial milestones may be reached: full repayment of loans, signing of a large contract with a long-term horizon, receiving a substantial percentage from a joint project, and achieving stable sales of original products. The amounts passing through accounts will not only be larger, but also more predictable. Pisces will feel that they no longer live from inspiration to inspiration. The financial part of life will become as important as the emotional and spiritual. It is in November, when all the income for the year will be calculated, that it will become clear. In total, they have already come close to what was previously perceived as a fantastic scenario. The only difference is that now it will not be a scenario, but the result of very specific actions. In December, Pisces will do the main thing. They will acknowledge a figure that they were previously afraid to even imagine as realistic. If you add up the income from all areas, add the value of the assets created, the amount in investment accounts, the volume of reserves, and the already planned and confirmed payments for the coming months, it will become clear that 1 million no longer lives in the someday category. It will be written into their financial history as the logical result of a year in which they finally stopped betraying their interests. December will not boil down to uncontrolled spending on the holidays. On the contrary, this month will be the moment when Pisces will treat themselves with respect. They will draw a quiet but very accurate conclusion, adjust their goals, and set a new level below which they will no longer fall. Throughout the 12 months of 2026, the main change for Pisces will not be the appearance of big money itself, but the reformatting of their relationship with it. They will learn to put a price on their own energy. They will allow themselves high fees. They will begin to refuse those who try to sit on their neck. They will begin to use their gift of seeing depth, not only for other people's stories, but also for their own financial future. It is precisely such people who are hinted at in some of Nostradamus's quatrains, those who manage to combine the water of feelings with the stone of practical decisions. In 2026, Pisces will move along this trajectory, from dissolution to clarity, from chaos to order, from it will be what it will be to a specific million that will stand in their reality as confidently as their ability to feel this world more deeply than others.